caddied once with Jack Nicklaus, actually. And but he won't go to a private club with caddies because he doesn't like the way the members treat them. And he gets mad, and they treat him horribly.
Yeah.
Not me, but they. So my club has no caddies, so he can come to my club. And but I took him to a public course up north, and and he took his grandson, who's Emilio's son, Taylor, and with three of us, and Janet, his wife, packed us 3 PB&J sandwiches, which I thought, it made me cry. I just thought, how cool is this? They've been together for like 800 years, and she's still packing sandwiches. And then we just had a great day, and they both laughed. They both Taylor's horrible, and Martin can hit a good ball every now and then, but basically they hit and laugh.
Yeah.
So it was one of those kind of golfing days.
Oh God, I would like to be like. It sounds like a kind of a Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of episode, though. Don't you?
Yeah. In fact, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Except we didn't take it that seriously.
No, that would have been fun to watch. Well, first of all, first welcome to Toronto, and
Thanks.
The movie was one of the first ones that I screened like 3 weeks ago. That was the very first film festival movie I saw, and I was like, if all of them are this phenomenal, I'm going to be a very lucky girl. I tell you, it just blew me away.
Oh, great.
Were you familiar with the whole story, the whole Ford-Plant thing?
No, no. It's a great question, and everyone's going to go, how come I didn't know about this?
I wasn't, either.
And, my mother was kind of a spearhead of the women's lib movement, and we had Gloria Steinem and Bella Abzug in our apartment in New York, and my wife, of course, is, I don't know if you know her, but she started the S Factor and the movement, the pole dancing and erotic movement and all that. And but she looks at it in a very feminist light. I mean, she's like, this is the new feminism, kind of a progression from the old fem. So I've been around feminists all my life, is my point. And none of us really, said, yeah, it all started back in Dagenham in 1968. So when I first met with Nigel and Cole and Stephen Woolley in London, I was doing another movie called Infidel there at the time, which is playing at the Cumberland.
Yes, playing at the Cumberland.
I love that. Yeah. It's playing right around the corner.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
It's very cool. And anyway, we talked about it, and I did a lot of research on it as quickly as I could, and no idea that's where it happened. But thankfully it did happen there, and it made for a great story.
Really great story. Really fun. It was kind of like the Norma Rae of Britain,
Yeah, but it was so different than Norma Rae. I love Norma Rae, a great movie, but that was in the tradition of kind of the 30s unionization, kind of socialist, where the guy, the Jewish guy from New York comes down and teaches them what's right and wrong. This is something where, it just kind of bubbled up very gently from where it was, with Bob Hoskins and Sally Hawkins over something else. First it was they were being labeled as unskilled, and they didn't like it. And and then it became, wait a second, while we're at it, why aren't we getting the same pay? It makes no sense. And you see the epiphanies as the movie goes along, and Sally Hawkins' incredible face, where it was like, it's not a preordained thing. It's not something that somebody else already knew. She's discovering it new. Right in front of us, which is one of the reasons I think Nigel did such an amazing job.
Well, Sally is just outstanding in this film.
Sally's great. I'm trying to talk her into doing a play with me on Broadway this spring. So if she comes in today, tell her I'm working on it.
Oh man, I would love to see that.
I would love to
she's really, that woman. You're right. It's a lot of it's expression in her face.
Well, it's not easy to be vulnerable. And it's something that I get myself to when I have to on camera and on stage, and it's not fun necessarily because you're sensitized to everything. And one of the reasons why actors have this horrible reputation is because they stay sensitized, and then somebody rubs them the wrong way, and they're all ready to react. She does it in a way that it doesn't compromise her life off screen. She's just always gentle and open and vulnerable, and so her instrument is just amazing. And then on top of that, she works really hard, and she's smart, so she knows she has it all together.
Well, she got through the Mike Lee School of Training. I mean, you gotta, that's hard work.
There's a scene that's cut between us, when my first scene in the movie with Sally, that Nigel told me was cut when I got here to Toronto. And I was really upset, mostly because my memory of this movie was working, was that scene because I was so taken by her.
Amazing.
You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too bad. Maybe we'll get it on the DVD version.
I don't know. I mean, he explained to me, it made perfect sense why that whole section of the story was cut, but I don't care if it's an 11-hour movie. I like the scene. Put it back in.
We'll tell them that. You're working with the British crew, mainly one of the very few Americans in this film. Do you like working,
I'm the only American in this film.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Wait a minute. No, wasn't there another one? Hold on a minute.
Oh, yeah, but there were Brits playing
Yeah.
Americans.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well.
Oh, there's one American that lives in England. It
Yes.
was one of the Ford guys.
Right. Okay. But you get to work with these British actors, British crews. You enjoy that because I think you've done some other stuff too.
It's that's the only stuff I'm doing nowadays.
Yeah, London, a lot
It's
of
over
British
there. I've done 5. Last Chance Harvey. It was the same crew. It was a little part, but it was the same crew. So I already knew the crew, which is kind of cool. I'm repeating crews there.
stuff. That's all right.
Same DP, John DeBorman.
Yeah.
And then The Infidel I was shooting there. I did a one-man play there on the West End a few years ago. That's how it all started. And I fell in love with the English audience, theater audience, and we had a phenomenal time together. An experience I didn't know was possible on stage. Same experience on the East Coast in the United States didn't create the same response. In other words, something about the English, the way they listen, and that particular play made for a phenomenal experience. And then I started to meet people, and I was offered a movie that I couldn't get to do, and I've been offered 6, 7 plays there since.
Amazing.
And whenever I go back, I see people, and Kevin Spacey at the Old Vic offered me something, I couldn't do it.
He's here this week too.
He is here, I know. And but it would have been great to go work with him there. And so I might go back to the West End this spring if the Broadway thing doesn't happen. But I keep I guess it spreads around that I'm there. I love to work there. I have a wonderful English agent, and so I just got another movie that, in November in England. And then there's a movie that I've been developing that just got greenlit.
Oh, good.
By Baby Cow in the productions in London.
Excellent.
To start shooting next summer.
So London's good to you.
And that one is something that I'm exec producing and probably starring in.
Can you tell me about it a little bit? Or
I can. It's a long story, but I can.
Well, just very briefly, because I have other things I need to talk to you about too.
Yeah, well, it's based on, it's a true story that's currently happening, and it's about the Russian oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who's currently on trial for a second time in Moscow. He was one of the few oligarchs that developed a conscience and wanted to transform Russia into a more Western, democratized, free trade culture, and went up ahead, butted heads with Putin. Putin put him away, basically. And he's due to come out, so there's new charges being trumped up. And Elie Wiesel has just come on board and declared him a political prisoner, and Amnesty International and all that.
Wow.
But people don't care because why? It's like Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
Kind of guy to a lot of the Russians, and to a lot, he's one of those guys with the boats and the girls.
Right.
Well, no, he's the one that didn't do that. He's the one that actually tried to create industry and jobs and democratize Russia and blah blah blah. Anyway, I've been to Russia, the trial, partnered up with Martin Sixsmith, a BBC journalist, and where we just now are moving forward.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. We'll look out for that.
We'll be here next year.
Well, hopefully that's amazing.
That'll be quick work, but we'll see what we can do.
Bring it here for sure. Of course, excuse me, we all know you from The West Wing. How can I not talk about it because I'm a TV holic? But Aaron Sorkin, are you still close with him? Do you still keep in touch with that guy? And
we still sleep together every now and then.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
No, he's Aaron and I email every now and then. I had dinner with him, of course, in London because that's where you can actually see people. He was there. We were both speaking, I think. Anyway, I was shooting, and we found out we were there, so I had dinner with him, and it was great. And I think that's the last time I saw him. But
are you looking forward to The Social Network?
I sent what?
His new movie, The Social
Network.
Network?
I read chunks of it, probably illegally, but I read chunks of it, and it looks great, and I love the story. And he always picks great stories. He picks great stories. So I look forward to that, yeah.
Yeah, and directed by David Fincher, and of course you work with him too.
I love David Fincher. And David Fincher gave me a big break, actually, because I was an unknown guy back then, and I got this little role in Seven, which I was very happy about. But I got a huge role in NYPD Blue. That's that very same week, which is probably another show you watched.
Yeah.
And it was a breakthrough kind of role as part of a Romanian terrorist, and it was like blah, blah, blah. And it conflicted. Plus, I was opening on a play that week as well. But it conflicted with Seven. And David Fincher moved the day so that I could do the NYPD Blue and open my play.
Amazing.
At a cost of probably a couple $100 G's those
So
days.
you owe him big time.
Well, they wouldn't do it. It wouldn't even be a consideration these days.
Yeah.
Back then, they could throw away money.
Very quickly, I know. So, are you? Is your TV show happening? This Criminal Minds spinoff thing? Because I know you were on that, and is this?
Well,
happening?
I'm just kind of a hired gun. I'm just kind of recurring, so that I'm not locked in, and I'm not, there's no handcuffs. I mean, I'm happy to do it. I just did the first 3 days with Forrest Whitaker,
Yeah.
and that's just a pleasure. And Stephen Woolley, produced, made Dagenham, produced Crying Game.
Wow.
So I love him, and no idea about anything because I'm not, I'm just, telling me if I'm free, I'll be happy to come by and work for a little while.
Well, I hope so. I mean, we love you in the theater and movies, but I love you on TV. Like I say, I'm a TV holic, so I'm going to look for you.
Okay, sure.
Well, congratulations. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
So same here,
And,
thanks.
Did you watch Sheila on Lost? Were you a fan?
We both had never seen Lost,
No.
and I heard about it. And then when I saw finally, she's been offered Lost, so she says, let's watch the pilot, the show. So I watched it and I went, oh, and because I had seen a lot of the imitations, and I went, oh, so this is what they were imitating. Because those shows didn't make any sense. This makes great sense. I loved it, actually.
She was good.
And then she had a great time. She spent 5 or 6 episodes out there. She had a great time. She loved the crew. She loved the people. And we both kind of got into the show. So
Yeah,
I'm glad,
she was
I'm
good.
glad she did it, so I got to see it.
Good stuff. Well, pleasure talking to you. Thank you so
Same
much.
here.
And
Thanks
good luck
for
with the
having
film.
me.
Thank you. You're welcome. And do you mind if we just get a picture?